before going too far with timing belt removal, you want to make sure that you check the crankshaft seal, because if it's leaking, you want to crack this bolt loose before you loosen or remove the timing belt. Somebody put those in tight pretty good. Somebody tighten those pretty good. That's the pump still leaking. I have to bronze this little guy and make a chain out of it. There's a bit of oil as well from the crank seal. You want to make sure to replace this crankshaft bolt afterwards, since it's a stretch bolt. You can see fluid running down right here, and it's coming from above, I think. No, it's coming right from this little frost plug. I guess that's what it is. And yep, it is an aftermarket pump. So the timing belt has been done before on this vehicle. Okay, so now I think my next step is I'm going to take the cam sprocket off. That way I can take the belt off and work at the top, on the top still, without having to put the engine bridge in there. And then later on, once I have the top end repaired or fixed, then I'll put the bridge on and take the engine mount off to do the rest of the timing belt. 16mm. And you can gauge whether or not the sprocket moved by looking at the alignment marks here. Special tool 3366. So all this thing does is it collapses the tensioner, as you screw it down, the top half, the piston will retract and you get play in the chain. You want to just go until it stops. You don't want to go nuts with that. And as you can see, that's not a lot of play or movement to get the tensioner out. That's why I usually take the cam bearing caps off and then lift the camshaft out, and then that gives me lots of room to work with just the tensioner. And obviously the bolts here for the tensioner need to be removed. There are 3 here, there's 1 here. And at this point you want to turn the crankshaft maybe 45 degrees out of the top dead center position. That's all she needs, just so that the pistons are away from top dead center. I already do some preliminary cleaning or washing down of the area while the old seals are in place. Sometimes they put up a really good fight, in which case I'll take both camshafts out. And you actually only need to lift it up far enough to get the gasket out. But if you take the whole thing out, you can then look at the pads, the wear on both sides, and then judge whether or not it's time to replace it or not. And this is the filter screen that I'm talking about. You can see little tiny deposits here of stuff. Sometimes that screen will actually come loose, and then it can obstruct flow because it's not sitting correctly. And then you also have to consider the chain itself. Depending on age, it's just like a bicycle chain, motorcycle chain, it'll stretch. If it gets to the point where it's too far stretched, it can set codes. So, you know, it can, any type of job can snowball in terms of, while you're in there, do other stuff, because it saves you time coming back. So putting in a new chain, putting a new chain tensioner in there, putting in new lifters, you know, yes, it'll cost more, but it'll guarantee you that's going to be quiet for X amount of more years to come. On the other hand, valve stem seals, you know, at what point do you stop? That's the difficult, you know. Are you planning on keeping the car forever? And then dive in and replace it all. But as most of you know, these cars are not worth much these days, and a lot of people will say it's not worth it, which is true. But if the body is in really nice shape, why not stick the money into it? If it's going to be lasting you for another 10 years, that money pays for itself over those 10 years. So anyways, you get the idea for the top end, and then obviously put it back together in reverse of removal, after cleaning everything, of course, putting in new seals, and I'm going to continue on with the timing belt now. But you pretty much know what's going on with that anyways. Support it here, put the engine bridge in, or support it from underneath, take out that engine support bracket, remove the tensioner, the roller, the hydraulic tensioner, the water pump, and also reassemble in reverse of removal. Same with crank seal, pull the crank seal, tap in a new one. That's it, easy peasy.